Well, an important thing that Bethany, Carolyn and I have in common is that we take a biopsychosocial perspective on the human condition. If here I dwell on the psychosocial, don't take that to imply that I neglect the biological, especially when it comes to heavily biological conditions such as schizophrenia, manic depressive psychosis and autism. For the first 5 of my 10 minutes, I want to conjure up a scene that is imaginary but not wholly fanciful. Let me cast myself as a biologically orientated psychiatrist, Dr. H, reading over letters I've written on 2 patients seen for initial consultations. Dear Dr. X, re King Lear of No Fixed Abode. Thank you for referring this patient, whom I believe you saw at the request of 2 of his daughters. Mr. Lear is struggling with difficult circumstances. Of course, the transition from kingship must have been challenging, and then he faced uncertainty over his place of residence. However, I note his recent history of states of confusion, his wanderings on heathland at night in inclement weather, his railings against his family with passionate invocations of the frightful forces of nature, and his grandiose outbursts, as well as erratic reflections on the looped and windowed raggedness of his vagrant associates. Altogether, he displays signs of cognitive dysfunction in the context of a markedly fluctuating mental state. I conclude there are grounds for concern that Mr. Lear has the mental disorder of dementia, perhaps with comorbid depression. An alternative possibility is that primary depression might have led to intermittent cognitive decompensation. I have sent him for psychological testing, and I shall contact you when the results become available. Yours sincerely. The second letter reads thus: Dear Dr. Y, re King Macbeth of Dunsinane Castle. Mr. Macbeth presents with a severe depressive state. The immediate precipitant of his depression appeared to be the stresses of his political work. Of course, for Mr. Macbeth to witness Birnam Wood shuffling up a hill towards his ramparts must have been unsettling, especially since 3 evil hags had implied this could presage his demise. However, in Mr. Macbeth's case, the biological features of depression are clear, not only in his restlessness, early morning awakening and loss of appetite, most notably at banquets, but also in the phenomenology of his clinical presentation. For instance, in the following utterances: tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to the last syllable of recorded time, and all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Out, out, brief candle, life's but a walking shadow. The nihilistic tone to these ruminations, expressed to no one in particular, along with Mr. Macbeth's explicit suicidal thoughts, leave little doubt about the diagnosis. Therefore, I've arranged for his urgent admission to hospital. I should add that there might be something in Mr. Macbeth's marriage to be addressed. After his depression has remitted, relations with Lady Macbeth, a somewhat severe and single-minded individual, do appear to be strained. Yours sincerely. Now, you may think I'm being unfair to my psychiatrist alter ego, Dr. H, but let me say that I've heard a healthcare professional on the BBC claim that King Lear showed dementia, and I've attended a lecture at which someone cited Macbeth's speech as typifying that of depression. My first and rather obvious point is that one's views of Lear and Macbeth are likely to be influenced by one's conceptual frame of reference. I am doubtful whether in contemporary practice we take as much care as we should in appraising people's conduct through the lens of biological psychiatry or clinical psychology. A somewhat separate issue is that much depends upon the vantage point from which one perceives these characters' predicaments. As an audience to Shakespeare's plays, we are put in a position to come to see the characters in a certain way, as individuals dealing with profound emotional and interpersonal conflicts. Given the breadth and depth of what we witness, we make sense of what they say and do with reference to ideas other than those of biologically based mental disorder. Now, suppose one thinks, as I do, that many cases of neurotic mental disorder reflect interpersonally grounded and interpersonally expressed psychological processes. In a given case, how might one put oneself in a position to trace these processes in an emotionally immediate and accessible form?